Cease, thank you for joining us.
Anytime, man.
How's your holidays?
My holidays was pretty expensive for me, you know what I mean? Had mom take care of mom Dukes, had to take care of my sisters, my daughter, the most expensive ticket there is. And I also bought something for my baby moms, you know what I mean? Trying to mend that whole thing, that whole situation. We've been going through it for a couple of years now. It feels nice to finally get to a point where we can actually settle our differences and get somewhere and agree that we gotta be co-parents.
That's pretty cool. Are we going to see that play out on the season?
The way the season's going, I don't know, because our season's kind of broken up, and you know how VH1 do it. They edit it one season, and then it might come next season. But we definitely trying to get on the show for this season. If not this season, the next season after that.
Right. And a lot of things that we see play out on the show is just things that are happening in the now, right? But we don't really know about your upbringing. Can you talk about that?
What do you want to know about my upbringing?
Like, where did you grow up, and how was it growing up?
It's kind of difficult to describe my upbringing because I'm really like a New York kid. Like, my pops was a Rolling Stone, my mom, she's a Jamaican immigrant, and it's like I basically grew up in a Jamaican household, you know what I mean? And I've been almost basically all over New York, you could say, growing up. Like, my grandmother, when she first came in, she was in Flatbush, so a lot of my time I was in Flatbush when a little kid. And then my mom, she had got her a nice apartment in Left Rack City. I was there for, that was probably like out of my childhood, the longest stint I ever stayed anywhere is Left Rack City. And then my pops, you know, when he was in my life, he used to be all over the place. So I have brothers in Brooklyn and Queens and all that. So I used to be over there all over the place. Like, every project on 21st from Queensbridge to Astoria, I got family in there. So as a little kid, I used to be in it. Like, you could just say I'm a city kid. I've been in New York my whole entire life. Like, I visited other places, but I never lived anywhere but New York.
Right. And, you know, growing up, you said your mom was a Jamaican. She is a Jamaican immigrant.
Yeah, my mom's a Jamaican immigrant. She came over here on a working visa. You know what I mean? She was a model. And my pops caught her, locked her ass up before she got back. And before you knew it, she was pregnant in Jamaica with me. So she made sure she got to the States and I became a citizen. But at the end of the day, my mom's is really like, I never told her this before, but she's really the person that I aspire to be. Like, it's difficult being a woman back then, raising a stubborn little boy and really making something of yourself. Like, my mom's been through a lot, and really going off her experiences why I'm so successful in my life right now. Because I can't really use excuses. My mom's had every excuse in the damn world to use, and she didn't. She made sure that she was successful with whatever she did.
Right.
I seen my mom's open up a hair salon, didn't know nothing about hair, and it became a successful business. It's just the point that you can't be scared.
You talked about your mom being a successful business owner. Obviously, that's something she like embedded in you with your businesses now. Now, what about your father? As far as like growing up in New York as a young black man, it has to be kind of difficult. Like, was he there for your upbringing?
See, with me, I was blessed with two fathers. You know what I mean? Like, my biological father, you know, he had his own problems, he had his own demons. He tried to guide me as much as he could, but it's hard to really help anybody when you can't help yourself. I used to get frustrated over that when I was little and didn't understand like why my father wasn't around. But as you grow up and then you start understanding as being an adult and being so complex in how life is, you start to understand. And honestly, I kind of felt bad for the amount of hatred I had as a little kid towards him. But when my pops was sitting there trying to figure out himself, my mom had got married to a wonderful man named Kenneth Simpson. And that's who I consider as my dad right now. Like, that's always gonna be my father, and he passed. My biological father passed. And honestly, the person who's taking care of me has always been my dad. I always had two dads at one time, you know what I mean? If I was able to reach out to my dad, I would, but my biological dad wasn't always there for me. The man who took care of me was basically my father. And my own father told me that. Like, yo, listen, I'm your dad, but that's your father. He takes care of you. He's showing you all the things I can't. And honestly, that man has shown me so much things, and he cared for me like I'm his real son. Like, to this day, he calls me and makes sure I'm all right. And people don't understand. Like, I was stubborn as hell. Like, my mom's go get herself a new man. Nah, I'm gonna raise hell. I gave that man hell, yo. Hell, yo. And I know me. I mean, deliberate hell. Like, it was a male thing. But at the end of the day, I thank God that he was in my life. And I thank God he showed me a lot of things, because that man, people don't know how successful my step-pops is, because that's not something I bring on the show. I even talk about. My step-pops is a very successful man. And at the end of the day, he showed me a lot of things that I wouldn't have got in the hood or in the ghetto.
Right.
Like, my mom made sure that I was able to experience things outside of the hood. That's why she was able to take us out of the hood, and why I'm able to stay out of the hood right now. Because at the end of the day, it's just so much that you can see in the hood. You gotta explore the world. The world is just it's just so vast, yo. It's just so much out there in the world.
And you talked about your father passed away from AIDS, right? How did that make you feel when you found that out?
I mean, when I found out my pops died from AIDS, it bothered me, because I didn't know. Like, for him to be my father, and he was living that long with it, and he just died. And the point that I found out is after he passed. It was like, damn, yo. And for it to happen like that, it was like my daughter was just in my life. I didn't even get to introduce her to her grandfather, and everything was just a spiral. It was a time in my life that I didn't know what I wanted to do, because my biological pops just passed of some disease that I really didn't understand at the time. Like, I knew how to protect myself, but I didn't know that, you know what I mean, that my pops, like, he even was exposed to something like that. And for him not to tell us is like, wow, like, what is it that you didn't want to? And then people used to tell me, like, sometimes he'd be like thinking he's dirty and shit like that. And it's like, you're supposed to tell your family even though, you know what I mean? I really try to do certain things, like, for the kids who have it. Like, I grew up with people who was born with it, like crack babies, AIDS babies, born with it. I lived through that age. So that's what really bothers me, that my own father couldn't understand that I was basically open to everything, that he could actually tell me that. That's what just caught me off guard. Like, damn, man, if I knew my pops had a disease like that he was going to die, I'd make sure I was next to him so I could sit there and make up for some type of time that's passed.
Right. And you didn't know until the day he died, or after?
Listen, I found out when I went down to go bury my father had AIDS. And that's something that no man wants to swallow. No one wants to sit there and be like, what? And then it's like, with that whole situation, it just turned me into a whole different type of person. I could say that's the time of my life where I decided that having 100 women just sitting, partying, drinking, it wasn't for me no more. It was my time of my life that it was really like, you know what? This is the path I want. I want to sit here and own stuff. I want to be different than everybody. Life is too damn short for me sitting here worrying about I'm going to get the next fly-ass outfit just so I can impress somebody in the club. Just for what, man? My pops, I love him to death, but he died with nothing. I don't want to be that. I don't want somebody have to rely on somebody burying me.
So your mom was in the industry for beauty, her own salon. What eventually made you become a tattoo artist?
I always had something towards tattoos. Like, I was heavily tattooed as soon as I turned 18. Like, I was tatted all the way up. The thing was that at the time I was having my daughter, I was in the streets. And I always said I wanted to get the hell out the streets, especially I have a kid. Like, I always thought, like, whatever the father does, your child will reap. So in my eyes, it's like, I'm having a kid now. I can't be doing what I'm doing in the streets. Like, I don't want her to ever reap what I'm doing just for some money. So I decided to go back to school. I got a bachelor's degree in visual communications. That's, for everybody who doesn't know, that's like graphic designing and whatnot. I was working, doing graphic designing. I made it all the way to art director, but I still wasn't happy. I wasn't like, I was making money, but it wasn't me. Like, I wasn't feeling it. Going to go see my friend, you know what I mean? This kid I grew up with named Andre Malcolm. He was tattooing at Tough City at the time in the Bronx. I was going to go see him get tattoos and whatnot from him. And then I seen how much money he was making. And then I remember I can draw my ass off still. Like, that's nothing. Like, that was something that I put on the back burner because when I was little, all the kids in school and in the hood be like, yo, you're gay, you draw, like, ew, get out of here. And then that's when I had to turn into the tough guy and be fighting all the time. That's why I really started scrapping and whatnot. That's why I learned how to fight because everybody used to tease me over drawing. So I had to show that I wasn't no little punk, you know what I mean? Especially with a little Jamaican accent. That didn't help at all, yo. So at the end of the day, it was like I started drawing. He helped me with a couple things. And before you know it, you know what I mean, I was in my building. And this was probably like the last week of me even playing around the streets. The last person I seen, you feel me? I didn't even know he was a tattoo artist. The guy's a tattoo artist, you know what I mean? I was serving him for God knows how long, you feel me? I was drawing stuff up for people, and they was gonna get tattooed from him. And I didn't know it. So one day he just was like, "Yo, I need to holler at you." I was like, "All right, what you need?" He's like, "Nah, you need to get out the streets." I was like, what? Yeah, you doing too much. I see you went to school and all that. Well, why you ain't out the streets yet? I'm saying like, I hustle in two ways. What's wrong with you, man? You know what it is, yo. He basically started like, "Yo, listen, you got a talent. You might as well tattoo." How you know I'm trying to tattoo? Well, you got a talent and look like you want to do it. Homeboy showed me the regulations and all that stuff and how to do it. Like in 3 months, I was tattooing. And I mean full time. Like I quit my job and I was just supporting myself over homemade tattoos. It took me a little while, fucked up a couple people, but I made up for it later on. I fixed their tattoos probably like this year. So, you know what I mean? I was ducking people for a little while. But I had to learn, and it was a learning process. It took me a while, and I'm glad it happened because I don't know where my life would have been without tattooing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it was just a sign from God, honestly. Like, you really think about it, the person that you destroying their life, they helping you to better your life. It was ironic at the time because I was young, I wasn't thinking like that. But as I mature, I'm like, damn, life is just crazy.